What's up guys? I'm going to be showing you how to wax a snowboard today. So the first order of business is you have to take your bindings off or it won't turn out that good. And I have this really cool little tool from Burton that helps me do it. So the reason you're going to want to have your bindings off is because it's really hard to wax underneath with the bindings in there. It pulls the air through, it's just something weird happens. I don't really know, I'm not a scientist, but take them off. And then in the meantime, get your iron ready to go. Another important thing to remember is where your bindings are set as far as the angle goes. You don't want to forget that. I just mark with a Sharpie where it's at. As far as the iron goes, I just have this Toco iron. It's kind of expensive, but it's definitely worth it. So the next step is to clean off the bottom of your board. Just make sure there's not any gunk on there or extra wax. You really should have a cleanser, but I just use a wet paper towel. So the next step is to actually wax the board. I like using this pearl wax. I've obviously used most of it. Normally comes in a huge 3-pound block, but I've used a bunch of other waxes and this is definitely the best one. So to wax the board or put the wax on, you're going to just hold the wax to the iron. You're going to drip it all over. Make sure you don't do too much. I would start with a little bit and then work your way up just to make sure you don't cake it on. But it's pretty easy. So once you get enough dripped on there, you kind of just apply the iron until it spreads all over nice and evenly. And then you're gonna let it dry. In my experience, I would make sure you get a lot of wax on the edges because those get dried out fast. And then don't really focus on the tips because those don't see the snow as much, so you don't really need to put a lot of wax on them. So after you get a nice layer of wax all over the board, you're going to want to wait about 15 or 20 minutes just until it's like cold to the touch, and then you can start scraping. As far as scrapers go, it's not really that big of a deal. They all kind of work the same. I really like this really big one. Been using it a lot lately because it covers the whole board. So when you're scraping the board, you always want to go top to bottom or bottom to top. You never want to scrape sideways or do it crazy in any way because you could scratch the base of your board. The main reason to wax your snowboard is to protect the base from getting scratches in it or really bad nicks. I like to wax my snowboard because I like to go as fast as possible, and if you don't wax your snowboard, you're not going to be able to make it on those cat tracks or go 50 miles an hour plus. So doing a good job of scraping all the wax off is important because it makes your next step of brushing easier. Don't go too crazy with the scraping though because the brush will get the rest. When I brush my board, I use 2 different brushes. I use a coarse brush at first, just go over it real quick to get like all of the stuff on the top off. And then I use a fine brush to get a nice polish on it. And after you finish brushing, there you have it, a beautiful and shiny wax snowboard. And the only thing left to do is put your bindings back on, but make sure you don't put them on backwards because I've definitely done that and it sucks to figure out on your first chairlift up after you wax your board.